Hello. I'm so glad you're here. I received a question asking about unconditional love and what that means. So I thought I'd make a video about it. So it makes sense to talk about conditional love first, so that we know what we're not talking about. Conditional love is the love between two apparent people, like a mother and a child, man and wife. It can look millions of different ways. A love between friends, smiling at a stranger that opened the door for you and admiring them. That's conditional love. All of these depend upon conditions. It depends upon the condition of the two people meeting, the resonance between them, the identification we have with our children that means so much more to us than with children that are not ours. And this love is beautiful. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced it. You know, it can be intoxicating, like a drug. It can have all kinds of flavors. And there's nothing wrong with conditional love, even though it's kind of seen to be a bargain between two people, you know. You are this way, so I love you. And I love you, so you love me. It's kind of like a deal made. But we are these human animals, and we have no other way to love outside of this conditioned love. And we don't need to. It's beautiful that we have these apparent relationships between each other, and we can commune and resonate and admire each other. Conditional love is a gift. And we have these ideas in our head, some of us seekers, about the love of the saints, or Jesus, or Buddha, or fill in the blank. We think certain beings are capable of certain love that is outside the realm of conditional love. Like when Jesus was on the cross, and he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Whether that's a story or it really happened, it doesn't matter. It's just an example of this love that we project onto beings that we think are holy. But if you look at it, even in that scenario with Jesus on the cross, that whole story was conditional. It had to do with the relationship between him and the people that were crucifying him. And if those conditions weren't perfectly in place, he never would have said those words. That was also conditional love. The fact is that humans aren't capable of unconditional love, even after no self-realization, in my humble opinion. It's not something that we have the capacity for, because it's not what we think it is. When we use the word unconditional love in the truest sense of the word, when we really want to know what it is, like this lovely questioner asked, it has nothing to do with the love between two individuals of any kind, whether they be holy or not. It's not relational. This love I'm speaking of is all-inclusive. It literally is everything. So we could also simply use the word unconditional, and that would be just as good a pointing. Or unconditional freedom. That's not pointing to the capacity that a person has for compassion or anything like that. It's pointing to everything and nothing. It's pointing to the nature of this reality. And it's a concept, obviously, ultimately. It's one of the best ways to point, but it still comes nowhere near. Even the best pointings fall short of describing this wholeness. But those of us who are passionate about describing the indescribable, who knows if we're doing more harm than good, but we do attempt to speak about it, even though it's futile. This isn't the way love is usually spoken about. And it was only recently for me in the last 6 months or so that I was able to conceptually grasp as much as possible this love I'm speaking about, which again comes nowhere near it. A me or a self can take the concept easily. There seems to be no way around it. And they twist it in their mind into something that holy people have. Some capacity that they have. And that's not true, and that's not what it is at all. It's ultimately only a concept. And it's a concept that is pointing to something that cannot be conceived of. It's pointing to this, the only thing that there is and isn't. It's pointing to wholeness, and it includes everything imaginable, everything, including all the things that we think love is not, like hate, cruelty, selfishness, trauma. It includes violence, war. It includes every atrocity that you can imagine, because it is all inclusive. This love, this freedom, is everything. It's sitting here talking or contemplating the meaning of unconditional love. That's it. It's everything. Some of us like the word unconditional love or unconditional freedom, and we tend to use it in a failed attempt to point to something that can't truly be pointed to. It really doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it God. You can call it everything. You can call it nothing. You can call it purpleness. You can call it any random word, any word, as long as what you mean is wholeness when you say it. And even the word wholeness doesn't touch this, because it's a concept. Any word we use is a concept. And that's all it is. It's a concept. It's a reflection. So we can see how the word unconditional love can be very misunderstood and misconceived. And even when it's not misconceived and it is perceived as wholeness, it's still misconceived. Concepts just can't touch this, you know. We do our best, and it's great and it's fun to try to describe this, but it can't be described. So we laugh at ourselves, you know, and the futility of this. Speaking as if we know something. We don't. We really don't. This can't be known because it's everything. Can you conceive of everything? It's also nothing. Can you conceive of nothing? I don't know if you hear the rain. It's raining here. It's coming down pretty hard. This is not an attainment, literally. Like, it can't be attained. No one attains it. I haven't attained it. It's not attainable. How can you attain everything? How can you attain nothing? It is, and it doesn't need a human to understand it for it to be what it is already. And everything within it arises freely. And no concept can change that. It's the freedom that evokes the word love. It's free to be bound, free to be lost, confused, free to be anything. Reality is an open playground for potentiality, and everything is allowed. There are no rules. And that feels like love. The human brain sees this indescribability and it filters it through its brain and says, this must be love, this freedom. So that's why we use the word. Everything is allowed. All atrocities, all horror. Everything under the sun. The sun shines on everything. This is all inclusive. And that can be terrifying to contemplate as a puny little human brain. That anything could happen. Anything can arise. You know? This that I'm speaking of, being able to perceive this unconditional love in some minuscule way. It's an intuition. Has nothing to do with concepts. We can call it a knowing all day long, but it's not conceptual. There's not really a word. So I use intuitive, even though that doesn't really feel right. It just can't be touched, you know. The freedom. And it doesn't need to be touched. It is. It is. So you can see that having this minuscule conceptual idea of the wholeness of unconditional love, it doesn't give anyone anything that they didn't already have. It doesn't make you a better person. It's not about anyone. It's not for anyone. It can't be attained. How can you attain everything? It's not a place of peace and love. Even though we call it unconditional love, it really has nothing to do with love. Not in the way that humans understand it. It's not a state. It's nothing to reach for. What are you reaching for? It's this. This is it. Whether you see that this is it or not. It doesn't need you to see it to be what it is. This isn't some holy place. Unconditional love is not some heaven on earth or state or something that we earned because we went through many lifetimes and learned much and are old souls with good karma. All of that is bullshit. Because everything and nothing is equal. And that is the love. The even playing field. Everything is worthy. Everything is unworthy equally. Those words stop making sense. And yeah, there's nothing to forgive. Even when you can't forgive something on a relative level in a relationship, somebody did something horrible to you and you just can't find it in your heart to forgive them. That doesn't matter. That is love. You see what I'm saying? Everything that people say is not love is love. Unconditionally. It's almost not worth talking about because when you say unconditional love, it sounds like you're pointing to a thing. But in this wholeness and objectlessness, nothing can be pointed to. You're dividing up reality when you point. That's what I'm doing right now in this video. So you can't really take unconditional love and make it into a teaching. So what is common for a seeker is they will hear a teaching like this about unconditional love. And they will see it as something that they can own. They can claim and say that I am capable of unconditional love, unlike others. Or Buddha was capable of unconditional love, unlike others. And they see it as an attainment. That's completely missing the point. You cannot attain something that you literally are. This human that you seem to be is drowning in unconditional love. It's never experienced anything else. The whole beautiful hero's journey and all the relationships and all the conditional love and all the pain and all the sorrow, all the trauma, all of it is this unconditional love. The freedom for what is, to be as it is. There can be a seeing that no one is doing any of this. That within wholeness there is no agent. There is no subject and object. And when that is seen, and it really isn't seen because no one can see it. See how hard this is to talk about? But when that is seen, it is also seen that anything that arises cannot be altered and it can be no other way. And it's already gone. It's already gone. Everything is free to arise and fall, be born and die. Even these human forms, even our dramas, our stories. We are allowed to be these animals, to be these story-making machines. So beautiful. Well, I hope this brought some clarity. I love y'all. Thank you. Let me know if you want to hear about something else. Okay. Bye.